The Thunderbolts is shaping up to be a project that fans are just absolutely excited about. The trailers look fantastic, and we've heard some pretty good things about the movie, and today we've heard even more things. Not just good things about the movie, but some plot details as well. It does seem like they did another round of test screenings for the movie, but they are also going into some reshoots in December, in this month. But before you start thinking that this might be a bad sign for the movie, hold that for just a bit because we're going to dive into detail about what exactly is happening with this film. And we'll dive into some of the new plot details that some insiders have recently revealed about certain characters in the film. Now, first things first, yes, Marvel Studios is reportedly doing reshoots for the Thunderbolts. This is coming from industry insider Daniel Richman, who claims, like I said, Marvel has scheduled reshoots for the Thunderbolts in December. But again, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to fix something and they're doing reshoots because some test screening reactions were bad. In fact, we're hearing kind of the opposite, luckily. Thankfully, this movie doesn't really seem to be like Captain America Brave New World. I'm not saying that movie's going to be bad, but it's certainly been through a lot. And I'm hoping it's good because Captain America Brave New World, the trailers they've shown us, actually looks very, very good. So the reshoots that are happening from bad test screening reactions for that are definitely different than what's happening from the Thunderbolts. According to Daniel Richman, Marvel Studios is actually pretty happy with the film. And it is pretty common for the studios to do reshoots for any movie or for any show. The reasons could be simply to tighten some things up a little bit more. Perhaps they thought of a certain scene they thought would sit really well inside of the movie somewhere and would make it even better. But we've heard that the test screening reactions, multiple test screening reactions for this film have actually all been really good. And it sounds like they did another batch of screenings recently and the reactions were still pretty positive. So hopefully these reshoots are only going to make the film even better. Now, like I mentioned, we also do have some details about some of the characters on the Thunderbolts team and their relationships with each other. One particular relationship that has been talked about is the relationship between Ghost and Taskmaster. This is how Alex Perez of the Cosmic Circus described their relationship when asked about it on Twitter. Again, speaking specifically about the relationship between Ghost and Taskmaster, Alex said, "Think of it as a Suicide Squad scenario. They team up and they're work buddies at best, but it's not like a let's keep in touch relationship, you know?" And this is not the first time that we've heard this movie is kind of going to be a little Suicide Squad-y. And that is kind of what we're getting. I do kind of get that vibe. We got a band of misfits, a group of people who aren't the typical superhero mold. Like they're not the stereotypical superheroes that you think of. However, they are all pretty skilled. And from what we kind of know, it does seem like Valentina is kind of sending them on a suicide mission, which we believe has to do with the Sentry. Or, as we know him from the trailers, Bob, but he is Sentry. I heard a rumor that they're going to reveal that he is Sentry in the third act of the film, and of course I'm assuming we get the Sentry in his full costume. In fact, we do even see his belt buckle with the S on it in the trailers, so he does get his suit. He does become the Sentry at some point in time in the movie. According to a rumor online, it's going to happen in the third act. So I'm assuming him becoming Sentry and possibly the Void showing up is going to kind of be the grand finale of the movie. So it basically seems like Valentina has made Sentry and then the Void comes and kind of gets out of control. So she needs somebody to go and take out Sentry, but since he's basically indestructible, I mean the super soldier serum that he has, the golden Sentry serum in the comics, is supposed to be 1,000 times stronger than the serum that Captain America got. So you could obviously see how it would be really hard to take out Sentry. So the Suicide Squad type of mission thing, that's not the first time we've heard this, but then Daniel Richman offered some more insight about their relationship as well. When asked on Twitter if he could specify further the context of this friendship, hearing that they're only work buddies, he responded with this: "Antonia, or Taskmaster, has memory problems. She has a broken memory because her mind was damaged and rebuilt. So she needs reminders. Ava, or Ghost, helps her keep track of things, and through this they develop a close friendship." And here's another little tidbit for you. When asked, do you have any info about John Walker being a dad and his relationship with his wife, how is that playing into his story, Daniel Richman replied with, "His wife dumped him. So that is super unfortunate. We know from the trailers that there are articles written about him. We actually have a scene in the trailers where he is sitting in his baby's room. We see a crib and he's on his phone looking at an article that is essentially talking about how far he has fallen. He was Captain America, and then after the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he killed that guy with the shield and everybody was watching and filming, he was basically dishonorably discharged and the public eye doesn't really like him. And from what the Thunderbolts trailer makes it out to look like, at least, is that he has been doing some mercenary work for Valentina. It's also worth noting that if his wife did leave him, she might have left him with the baby as well. Either that or he is simply just visiting. She still gives him visitation rights, but he is in that room with the baby in that scene that we've seen in the trailer. Or maybe simply the leaving him comes later on, and that's kind of what pushes him even further to kind of join the Thunderbolts team. Not that I think he really ultimately has a choice. When you start to do kind of mercenary work, wet work for shady people like Valentina, you can basically kind of view that as the mafia. Like Valentina is the mafia. She's using you, but if she doesn't need you anymore, she's gonna get rid of you because you know too much. You've done too much shady things for her that she can't really afford any loose ends. And that might be what is happening here in the Thunderbolts, because a lot of them have seemingly worked for Valentina. We know, obviously, that Yelena Belova has worked for her. We saw this in the Black Widow post-credit scene. She showed up to her when she was looking at Natasha's grave, and then Valentina came up to her, just like she came up to John Walker at the end of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And since Yelena has been working for Valentina, Taskmaster probably has as well, and Ghost too. I mean, it's very clear from the trailers that we've seen, those people work for Valentina. Red Guardian does not, and Bucky does not. And another plot leak that we've heard is Bucky is actually now a congressman. And in the trailers, we see him at a party that Valentina is having at the old Avengers tower that Stark owned. And it has been revealed that Valentina is the one who bought that, which also means she has a ton of money. So somebody that's pretty powerful, that has a ton of money, not somebody to really mess with, but that's what we're getting in the Thunderbolts. But that's also why, again, we believe that she's kind of sending the Thunderbolts on a Suicide Squad mission. They've done a lot for her. They know a lot, so she wants them to take out the Sentry, but also kind of assumes that the Sentry will take out a few of them as well, therefore killing two birds with one stone. In fact, we do see a scene in the trailer in the beginning where when they're all in the same room, the doors kind of close and it looks like fire might be burning the building coming in from the roof. That might be her trying to kill everybody, and perhaps the Sentry gets them all out of that situation. And again, a reminder, we have heard that the Void is going to show up in this movie. The Void, which is sometimes referred to as Dark Sentry, is an insanely destructive and dark entity that has bonded to Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry. And he's kind of the embodiment of all of the negative aspects of Robert Reynolds. And to be clear, it's an incredibly powerful entity. At one point in time, it destroys millions in New York, millions. Now, something interesting to note about the Void, because this might come into play in the Thunderbolts, is that it can take any form it wants. It is often depicted as kind of like really dark, almost symbiote looking form, but it can turn into a human, and oftentimes when it talks to Robert Reynolds, aka Sentry, it takes human form. So if they decide to do this in the movie, keep an eye out throughout the entire movie, because Bob might be talking to somebody who we think might just be a normal character, but it could be the Void, and that person might turn out to be the big villain of the overall film. And I think that would actually be a pretty clever and really cool plot twist of the movie, to have sort of a main character who's involved with kind of everything, and then at the end turns out to be the Void actually. But however they do it, it sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. It sounds like the relationships between the Thunderbolts are going to be pretty tight. So if some of them do die, it's going to be pretty sad. Although we've heard some are going to go on to be a part of Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, so fingers crossing that there are some left. I'm assuming Red Guardian and Yelena Belova. Bucky, of course, I'm assuming they survive. I'm assuming John Walker does as well, but you never know. He might not make it out. I'm not really sure Taskmaster is going to make it out, and Ghost might not as well. But you can go ahead and leave your predictions about that and your thoughts about these latest reports in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel news, rumors, and leaks. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.